Hey, Mark here. I just have a fun announcement for you. So, we recently started doing these Final Fight episodes, and we've been putting them up with the movies, the regular movie, films, and flicks episodes. However, the Final Fight episodes people really loved. So, we figured that we would start a brand new podcast just called Final Fights, brought to you by Movies, Films, and Flicks, where it's nothing but final fights in movies, where we discuss every punch, bite, kick, gut punch, everything you can think about. We do a lot of research, and they're short episodes. They're probably about 20 to 30 minutes. They're really quick to listen to, and they just talk about all your favorite final fights. So head to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and rate, review, and subscribe, and listen to Final Fights. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thank you. Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who currently wishes that he bought an Uzi instead of a Mac 10. It's David Cross.
I didn't know it was a Mac 10. I thought it was an Uzi, and that was the joke, that it was the same thing.
Oh, man, I gotta tell you, so you recommended this movie for me, and when you watch as many movies as we do, we've very rarely come across just really nice surprises. And this movie was such a nice surprise. I don't know, I love this movie, man, Night of the Comet. I was reading some reviews for it, and some people are calling it so bad it's good. And I'm kind of thinking, no, this is fun. This is a good movie. I really enjoyed this film. Like it has personality. I think it captures tone right off the bat. I mean, you just know immediately what this movie is. And then it just is full of surprises. And so you recommended this movie to me. How come you did that?
That's a great question, Mark.
Yeah.
Just so I forget, I like to call this movie So Good It's Good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand this. Do you think it's just easy to call it So Bad It's Good? This is a good movie.
Yeah. I don't think people quite get So Bad It's Good. So Bad It's Good is being inept that it's good. It's so bad that it's entertaining.
Wow.
And this is just a good film. Examples of So Bad It's Good is Birdemic, Shock and Awe, Faithful Findings, The Room. Those are so bad they're good. It's a different genre from even than purposely bad movies like Velocipaster.
Yeah, this movie, dude. I did some inflation. This had a $1.4 million budget, which that's not much. I mean, that's a tiny. Well, no, it's more. I guess it's around $2 million, but a $2 million budget, and they shot in L.A. And it ended up making $43 million at the domestic box office. This is a
That's
movie
crazy.
that it's scrappy. And doing some research, you know what's funny? So I was watching this movie, and I'm like, man, there's a show on Netflix. It's like a post-apocalyptic show with sassy teenagers, and I'm just thinking this ripped off Night of the Comet. And then I learned that Joss Whedon got the inspiration for Buffy the Vampire Slayer from this film.
Oh, yeah.
But then I started thinking about, more like the movie, but then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, that is spot on. I mean, when I think about Buffy now, Christy Swanson's role, that's this movie. I don't know. I don't know.
They took the best part of this movie and just gave her own, her own part.
Oh, so you like Samantha the most in this movie?
I do. I love Samantha. But I wanted to get to your question before I forget it.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
About why I recommended this movie. So first off, until last year, I had never seen this film. And I was feeling sort of nostalgic, wanting to watch this movie that I half remembered from a kid. And I ended up settling on Night of the Comet, thinking that it was Night of the Creeps.
Wow.
Yeah. So I watched it and I was like, I've never seen this film before. Why have I never seen this film before? And I loved it. And I think I immediately sent you a Facebook message and was like, have you seen this movie?
And I had never heard of it. But when you explained it to me and then I looked it up a little bit, I'm like, I got to do this. I need to talk. And so what was your first thought when you watched this film for the first time? What did you think?
So I absolutely loved it. I particularly like how 80s it is in the tone and the visuals. It's really striking to see an empty city with this sort of red dust everywhere.
Yeah, or just smashed up bricks.
Yeah, that's right, smashed up bricks. So my original thought was, I absolutely love this. I can't believe I had never seen this before. And to be frank, I haven't gone back and watched Night of the Creeps. I've just watched this movie like 2 more times.
And it's currently streaming for free on Tubi, and the Shout Factory Blu-ray is absolutely stacked with stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of happy to learn about how much of an audience this movie has grown. And when this movie was filming, and like I guess it's shot in '83. You could put this on Christmas movie list, by the way, because it kind of takes place during Christmas.
Oh, but, no, it definitely does take place on Christmas. Like the last shot is basically Christmas Day.
Oh, it makes me so
or
happy.
Easter, I can't tell, but it's definitely Christmas season.
And but like the producers also worked on Valley Girl, which we also covered on the podcast, and it's currently finally streaming, so you can rent it, which is kind of cool. I don't know if you've ever watched Valley Girl, but I love that movie, directed by Martha Coolidge, and the same producers went on to make this. And the director, Thom Eberhardt, kept saying that they were waiting for him to screw up. They wanted him to get fired. They had another producer that was saying that this movie is just like this movie. So Mary Warnov, one of the producers, she's like, it is not a cult movie at all. It is a fad movie. She went on to explain that the film will date very quickly because it's about Valley girls shopping at the mall and the bomb. It's not ahead of its time and it's not behind its time. It's just a combination of elements. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Now, Valley Girl, like Martha Coolidge, I don't. All right, so in the beginning of Valley Girl, she had the girl speaking Valley speak in the first scene, and then she deliberately went away from that. In this movie, there is a little Valley speak, but these two characters, man, are badass, Regina and Samantha. Like when Regina gets attacked by that zombie in the beginning, the zombie's like, come here. She's like, come here, my ass. Then she kicks its ass, jumps on a motorcycle, and drives home. Then her and Samantha get into a fight with some ghouls in a mall. Samantha gets the high ground and just throwing TVs, and they're throwing shoes and Uzis and having gunfights, and like they're beating people up and kneeing people in the head. And, like, I don't get how this was like a Valley Girl movie. These characters were not. You didn't see. Nowadays it's more familiar, but in the '80s, man, you didn't see. Like I don't know. I showed my wife. I'm mumbling, but I don't care. I showed my wife the scene where Regina beats up the zombie in the beginning, and she loved it because it's not the way scenes would go. So I don't think this movie was an in-the-moment movie. I think it featured good characters and got made from a very specific, he sold it on the strength of Valley Girls, but they made it their own.
Yeah, I mean, Samantha's the closest thing to a Valley Girl in this movie, and she comes off as more as just a young teenager who happens to speak in a little bit of Valley Girl. But that could be, that could still exist today. It's just sort of a preppy, poppy person.
Mm-hmm. And just this movie, man, it made me so happy because you're just so full of surprises. And I like the character of Hector. He had this really weird story about he picked up this hitchhiker and he's like driving around with her. And I'm like, what is happening?
Can we talk about that for a second? Because there's two parallel things happening in this film. So Regina at the very beginning makes it, her words, with the projectionist. And they're not dating. They're just sleeping together.
For $15.
And then, she'd be worth more than $15 according to him. But then Hector has a story about having a one-night stand with some woman he picked up for his truck. Are they trying to comment on something with those two characters having those two similar circumstances? I
mean, they must, right?
They have to be, yeah.
They're just it's a really interesting parallel, I guess.
Yeah.
So Regina stayed with the other guy because he gave she didn't stay because of $15, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it sounds like she's just a sexually liberated badass, and this film doesn't care what you think about your Protestant mores. She's like, I like having sex. This guy's, I guess, okay. I think he's annoying, but she must like him, and she's gonna do what she's gonna do. She's
a gangster. I love it.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And I love when she's like, I don't love the scene, but when she's being interviewed, she's like, I had mono once. And then they're like, have you ever been pregnant? She's like, no. And he's like, oh, that's no big deal. She's like, yeah, it was the worst 3 weeks of my life. Like, it was, I don't know, man. Like this, so you read all this stuff about the film and, they wanted it, like the producers didn't really like it because they were hot off the kind of intellectual, like very highbrow, Valley Girl, which I still think is an excellent movie. I don't know, man. It's weird that he had to do that much fighting on set.
Yeah.
And I kind of, go for it.
So what I read in this film regarding to him like fighting is that they didn't know what tone to take with this movie, that should it be horror or should it be comedy, and that they were filming scenes back to back, like one in a horror way and one in a comedy way. And then they were going to decide later on what it was going to be.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, that's smart. I mean, they must have shot this quick. I mean, this movie, dude. It
was like 18 days, I think.
Yeah. And he had to use every film trick film school cheap trick he knew. I love that they shot in downtown LA on Christmas morning when no cars are around. And even though there are some shots where you see window cleaners or people on the street, it's still a successful job. I mean, they create, and you know what I love about him? And this is what, like, if I was ever a low budget producer, what I love what Thom Eberhardt said was, we got 2 wide shots of emptiness. That's all we need for audiences to believe it. And I bought the empty streets. I thought they did a great job. And they could only afford 2 cops that could roam and keep the streets. Like, it makes me happy, man, because I've worked on some really small budget films, and that have been, maybe a little bit have a higher budget, but they haven't been nearly as creative with their money. So I kind of dug the choices, and this didn't feel like a $700,000 movie to me. I think they were able to get creative and make it look like a $3.2 million movie.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's why everyone turned to dust, because you're like, dust is cheap and people aren't. You just have dust everywhere.
Give me some bricks. I will break these bricks and I will throw them on the ground, and I will make that work. But like even the outfits, so Samantha's brighter colored, Regina has more of a neutral tones. She does wear the dress at the end, but overall Samantha has much more of a brightly colored outfit. So they made smart decisions. And even the scientists, the really random scientists who didn't block off their air vents, they just had the same outfits. So they did a good job kind of working in this. And these scientists, man, what do you think about them?
They're the worst.
Yeah,
they're absolutely the worst.
They're evil. They're killing children, right? Those 2 women are killing children. They're kind of joking about it. They're just, right, we can only get this much blood from them. Whatever, kids are cute. Yeah, what is happening?
So what I want to do with this is run through our top 5 favorite moments. I think that would be would help us talk about it.
All right.
Do you have a list of 5, or do you need a second to pull it together?
I mean, I got them in my head, and I can always change them up, but I kind of know what my favorite moments are.
Okay.
There's just little moments that made me really happy.
Yeah, same. I had a couple that I was just like, oh, this is great.
I'll let you go, and then I'll kind of...
So I'm going to go with number 5. My number 5 moment is when Samantha rolls over the couch to talk to Doris. It's so exaggerated, and it's pitch perfect for the character. She's like, I can't believe I got to do this, and just throws herself over the couch in the most dramatic way possible.
Yeah. And how tough is Doris, by the way?
How tough is she? She's
a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, she cold clocks her.
Yeah, is that supposed to be played as a comedy? I can't tell.
I mean, she does a big time role. And how about Chuck, man? Jeez Louise, Chuck. She's like,
Chuck's dust, man.
She's like, well, didn't she say you were born with like an asshole? You don't need Chuck.
She says you were born with an asshole, Doris. You don't need Chuck, or you don't need a second one.
I think man, and then I just love the slap. I was so surprised with the slaps, and then Samantha just gets decked. So they have tough home lives, these kids. Yeah, you're right. That's a good scene, man. Just the couch roll. That's cool. What's your number 4?
My number 4? Okay, so I love when Regina is driving around the city on the motorcycle, just experiencing an empty city. And I particularly love it because the music in the background is like adventure jaunty. And in this moment, that's supposed to be a horror movie. So it kind of clues the audience in that, yeah, this is scary, but they're going to have a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, the Mercedes that she comes upon, they say that 28 days later, because there's a scene where Cillian Murphy comes up on empty streets with the Mercedes just sitting there. Some people say that's an like an homage to Night of the Comet.
Oh, I didn't know that. That would make sense. And that's also one of the... Go ahead.
I didn't find any data to back it up, but it's a pretty big coincidence. So, I don't know. I like to think that it's a homage, I would say.
My number 3 moment is Samantha being disappointed that Hector doesn't work for the radio station. And this is a blink and you miss it scene. Like literally it's probably 1 or 2 seconds, but she asked him like, do you work here? And he goes, no, I drive a truck. And she just see her head tilt like, aw. It's a perfect way to set that character up.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a trucker. Oh,